All right, everyone. Today, I thought we'll go through just some simple tricks that I've implemented into my life over the last couple of years, which are just little steps, but I felt has really helped me massively. So, simply put, these easy ways that you can level up your life in the next 30 days, you can implement these things from today. So, I've broken them down into 8 changes. So, let's get stuck in. You don't need a new year, a Monday, or a perfect moment. A lot of people do the whole New Year, New Me thing. I've never really been much for New Year's resolutions. I don't see why you have to wait for a certain day in the year to suddenly change your life overnight. It's a bit of a known thing. The gym gets busy in January because people do this whole New Year, New Me thing. They go to the gym and they go over the top. They're there like 5 to 6 times a week, and then it hits February and they just bail on it and they quit the gym and then they're back to square one. Or people, have fun on the weekend. Oh, I'll wait till Monday. It's a new week, or the first of the following month, or something like that. So people keep wanting to make these changes, but they don't actually implement them into their lives. They don't actually take that action. So I thought I'll break down for you guys what worked for me personally is help build self confidence and success in my day to day life and on the bigger projects, whether it's business or careers or relationships or the gym, whatever it might be, or just how you feel in every day to day. Because if you say to yourself you're going to do something and then you don't follow through with it, that can really affect your self confidence and your self belief. Because if you tell yourself then the next time, oh, I'm going to make sure I do this, I go to the gym every Monday, you're kind of like, well, yeah, actually, am I going to do that? Whereas if you actually implement things in your life and you stick to them, you build a lot more self belief and self confidence. So, with that in mind, I've broken that down into 8 different areas. So, cutting out alcohol is the first one. Making sure you're consistent with your training, fixing your diet, make sure you're eating it clean most of the time anyway. Getting a good amount of sleep, as boring as it sounds. Journaling every day. That's something I started kind of towards the end of last year. It's probably talking about 7, 8 months ago now. I started implementing that daily. Cutting down your screen time on your phone, cold shower every morning can be quite decisive, but we'll go into that. And then reading, even if it's just 20 minutes a day. So, first of all, let me show you a photo of a wild Dom back in the day. I must have been 19 or so, something like that. As you can see, I'm having a great time on a night out. This would have been what, a Saturday night, one of the local Weatherspoons, and by the end of it, I've had clearly too much to drink, and I've fallen in a bush, or I've been pushed in a bush, or something like that. But I was clearly having a great time. As you can see, it's a Snapchat back in the day. So, did I regret doing those things? No, it was obviously fun at the time, but I can't be doing that all the time for the rest of my life, especially your 20s, which can be so decisive in your trajectory in life, really. You need to work. I know it's a bit of a saying, grind in your 20s so you can live in your 30s and things like that. I personally think you need a bit of balance. Like, you need to have some fun and make some memories as well. But it is important that you get your head down and that you do grind in your younger years when you've got more energy. So I'm not saying you got to be sober forever. You haven't got to go teetotal, but it does affect things, like I've said here, such as your sleep quality, your testosterone levels, which is important for men, your decision making, your waistline, and your wallet, of course. Especially these days, it's not exactly cheap to go out and have drinks, especially if you're living and working in London or around London. It's not cheap. Now, I've definitely noticed that. Like, I got a Whoop here. One of the main reasons I did that is because I was training hard at the gym, but I wanted to focus on my recovery and see that side of things, like sleep. And I've definitely noticed a trend when I've not been drinking, I will get a solid, like, green recovery, high percentage recovery score on my Whoop. And days where I go out, maybe in the evening, socially, have a few drinks, wake up feeling rough on a Saturday morning, it says, yeah, you feel awful, and that's because you are awful because your resting heart rate is this, and your sleep quality was through the floor, and it was like, yeah, thanks guys, yeah, I knew that, thanks for telling me. But it does impact these things and decision making, of course. It does affect it. Now, don't get me wrong, I've had some good productive conversations after a few whiskeys, maybe at a networking thing or something like that, and building meaningful relationships because obviously alcohol gives you the confidence. Now, for a lot of guys, that can be approaching girls on a night out. It gives you that confidence that you might not have if you were sober. For me, it could be, I'll send a message, I'll send a DM to someone that maybe I was hesitant about doing, but after a few drinks, I back myself. And I'm not just talking about girls, I mean, actually, people to do with business as well. Maybe for my gym web brand Imperium, it's I'd love to work with this influencer, but I don't know, like, would they want to work with me? Blah blah blah. And I've gone and sent a message, and they're like, "Oh, hi Dom, thanks for reaching out. No, yeah, that sounds amazing. Let's do it." And then as long as you haven't come across like a dick, then that's great. But I think as well with all of that, you don't want to become reliant on it. You don't want to only be this confident person when you've had a few drinks. You want to be like that naturally. You don't want to have to rely on alcohol. And I think certainly like in my younger years, I was only more outgoing after I'd had drinks on a night out. And usually I wasn't. I was a lot more like kept myself to myself sort of thing. Obviously it can affect your weight as well, especially like beers. I know for me personally, they can make me feel really bloated, and obviously lots of calories and carbs and things like that. So if you're cutting for a nice summer holiday or whatever reason, or just if you want to lose weight in general, obviously alcohol is going to impact how effective you are on that cut as well, because obviously it's going to be working against you. So cutting alcohol down, I will drink socially because I enjoy that, and that makes me happy. When I'm working so hard, it's important that you then, like they say, work hard, play hard, and you do enjoy yourself as well. And if I happen to have drinks at the same time, then I'm going to do it. But I don't make a habit of it. The things, if the World Cup's going on at the moment, for instance, I'm probably drinking a few more beers than I usually would, just because it's a sociable thing. You get together with friends or family, watch the footy, have some beers. It's what you do. But then during the week, when I'm training or on boxing or whatever, I'm eating a lot cleaner. I'm not drinking. Rarely do I drink during the week. If anything, every now and then there might be a social thing or a networking thing, something like that. I might have a drink or two. But that's the thing. If you can just cut it down to the weekends, and if you do decide to drink on the weekends or once every few weekends at a social thing, just don't go crazy, because if you're trying to improve things like your sleep quality, keep your testosterone naturally as high as it can be, don't want to come across like a dick and make stupid decisions. If you are cutting, or you're trying to watch your money, it can go against all of those things. Training 4 times a week. Now, like I've mentioned in the Craven Academy course where we talk about fitness and nutrition, I'm not an expert. I'm not a PT. I'm not an online coach. I'm not a nutritionist. I haven't got a shiny certificate to prove any of that, because I'm not. I simply train 4 times a week, if I can, 3 or 4 times, plus boxing. Try and get some running in as well for the cardio side of things. I just do it for my own mental as well as physical well-being. It goes without saying that you feel so much better after you get a good workout in, or a good run, or a good boxing session, whatever it might be. The endorphins and that, it makes you feel so much better. This photo of me from one of my last trips to Dubai is probably one of the best conditions I've been in. Now, like you can see, I'm no bodybuilder, I'm not an athlete, but you can see, body fat is low enough that there's some visible abs, good definition, the width with the shoulders and things. So, I think I'm doing all right there. That's obviously I was cutting for a holiday in Dubai, but you don't get that without putting in the effort. So pick something that's consistent for you, and I'll go into detail in the Craven Academy course, which you can sign up to. I share my exact routine, what's worked for me over the last few years when I've been the most consistent I've ever been with my training. And then, of course, your diet as well. Goes without saying to cut out fast food, takeaways, processed foods, sugary drinks. Just eat clean, stick to those whole meal foods, those whole foods, making sure you've got your protein up. Again, that goes without saying. Especially if you're training hard and consistent in the gym, you then need to repair those muscles. Make sure you got your protein high. Meat, eggs, fish, veg, rice and potatoes, water. is as simple as it is. If you do want to have a sweet drink, then go for a sugar-free, Coke Zero, that option, that side of things. And yeah, stick to your basic, steak and potatoes, chicken, rice, and veg, scrambled eggs in the morning with, avocado, healthy fats. Again, in the course, I do share what my diets are, whether I'm cutting or bulking or maintaining. Again, like I said, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just sharing what has worked for me the best. I've tried all sorts of diets. So I've been using MyFitnessPal since probably going on about 10, 11 years now, pretty consistently. I've tried all sorts of diets to bulk up, to lose weight, all sorts of things. And I've stuck with something consistently now for a couple of years that's worked the best for me. So I'll share in the course that in more detail. But here are the basics that you really want to implement. And you want to avoid all those processed foods, cheap foods as much as you can. Sure, have a takeaway every now and then. For me, once a month, that kind of end of the month, that Friday or Saturday, I'll go out for a meal or have takeaways. And it just seems more of a treat then, because if you're having McDonald's every other day, it's just going to become the norm and it's not going to help your progress. So you're putting all that hard work into the gym. I just think, why would I then want to ruin it with either alcohol, like we've talked about, or just rubbish food? Because it's just going to go completely against all that hard work that you've been busy putting in the gym. Also, sleeping, try and aim 7 to 8 hours. Now, this is something that I've looked into more in recent times. Again, because I was training hard in the gym, maybe I wasn't making the progress I thought I was. At times, my testosterone has dropped at times, and obviously it kind of fluctuates in that over lifestyle and diet and training and all sorts of different things. Things you can implement to boost your natural testosterone, but that will be a separate video for you guys. But sleep is really underrated. And I know people say, oh, you need to have sleep. And it seems boring, but it really is important. I've been trying to aim, obviously, it doesn't always work, but I was trying to aim for 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, have a proper bedtime routine for winding down. Like I says, yeah, don't have your phone, don't be scrolling, doom scrolling, putting the phone off and go to sleep because your brain is still wired. It needs to calm down from processing all this stuff, and especially the rate people's attention span these days is just absolutely fried. You're just scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Your mind's working at a million miles an hour, and then you expect it to switch off. Like it's just not gonna do that. Recently over the last couple of months, I wear an eye mask in bed, so it just blocks out all the light because even though I have blinds and blackout curtains, sometimes the daylight in the mornings can still come through, and that will naturally wake me up before my alarm goes off in the morning, or in the night it might wake me up. So that I found is really helpful. Some people have like earplugs in as well, just to drown out noise. I haven't done that personally, but maybe that's something I'll look to do in the future. Just anything that you can do to just boost your quality of sleep as well as how long you can sleep. And I touched on the Whoop earlier. That records all of that as well. Your sleep quality, your deep sleep, your REM. Like that's what you really want to be getting on top of. Just doing everything you can to maximize that. And the sleep does directly affect testosterone and how you feel and decision making, and just you want to make sure you've got a clear mind in the day for when you sit down at your desk to either work on your business or your career. You don't want to feel lazy and lethargic and slow and half asleep. Sure, you can have a coffee, but we don't want to have to rely on things like that. And journaling daily, this is something that I started doing, like I said, about 7 or 8 months ago now, I think. Just being consistent with that. If you've owned businesses or have careers and that like I do, and you're trying to juggle that with a fitness routine, social life, a relationship or dating, all this stuff going on in your mind, it is quite refreshing just to take a step back from it all on a daily basis. Every morning in mine, I've got the I think it's the 5 minute journal. It's called. I've just picked it off Amazon. It's like 20 quid or something, and I've been filling that in. So at the start of the day, it tells you, what are three things that you're grateful for. It lets you take a step back and really think about, what you're grateful for in your life, what's important to you, what things you maybe might take for granted that you can actually take a second to think, no, you know what, I really appreciate these three things. It'll say what make today great, what would make today great. It could be anything from something you want to achieve in your business. It could be, oh, seeing a friend, so having a nice catch up with my friend. It could be going for a nice romantic evening, whether it might be, just write it down. I want to have a good gym session today, or I want to make sure that I'm going to eat clean today because I'm going out tonight and I know that if I have a few beers, I might then decide to end up in the local kebab shop and then that's my diet gone to shit. Or if you are going out, I want to make sure I have no more than three drinks. I'll be really happy with myself if I do that. Or maybe if I don't drink at all, and then you have an affirmation for the day. And then in the evening, when you get into bed before you go to sleep, part of that whole winding down for bed routine, you reflect on the day. What three great things happened today? And you can say, oh, I stuck to my word. I went to the gym, or I had a really nice evening with a mate, whatever it might be. And then it'll say, I think the last one in that is something you've learned that day as well. Again, it helps reflect on your day and it makes you feel like you're taking little steps in the right direction. You've got all this going on in your life, but it's taking that time to think, actually, is this moving where I want it to go? For me as a person, do I feel good in the direction that I'm going in? Even if my business is doing well, or career, or the gym, or whatever, you as a person, are you actually moving in the place you want to be? So it says, yeah, 5 minutes every morning before your phone. So before you start engaging with whatever it might be, social media or texts or emails or whatever, just take that time for you to do that. And then at the end of the day, after you put your phone away in the evening, get on it before you go to sleep. And that also then ties into cutting screen time. I did my screen time and it was a ridiculous amount. I mean, to be fair, like I do use Instagram DMing for a lot of business things and networking and WhatsApp, but then I also found a lot of time doom scrolling. I appreciate, I know how hard it can be. You go and you start looking at a couple reels, and the next thing you know, 20 minutes is gone and you're just so unproductive. So I use an app called Opal. It's quite a popular one. So I block certain apps, which is basically all social media apps, between 9 a.m. and 12:30 in the afternoon. Give myself some time off around lunchtime and that to catch up on things, and then between 2 and 5:30, and then I have it free for the evening. And that just blocks out when I'm meant to be getting my head down, working on things, whether it's business or in the career. I'm not constantly looking at my phone because it's pinging up all different. Oh, that person sent me a reel on Instagram. Let me have a look. Oh, I wonder what they sent me. It might be funny. I don't bother doing any of that. You just lock in, and then in the evening, then you can spend your time catching up on stuff like that. Like, no one's gonna cry about it if you take an extra few hours to reply to their reel that they've sent you, or because you haven't liked their latest Instagram photo. Like, they can wait. This is all about focusing on you here. There's a reason why you clicked on this video because you want to work on yourself. So it all works towards it. No phone first thing in the morning, no phone in bed. App limits on anything that isn't producing value. Now, it's hard probably for me. I blocked WhatsApp at first, but then it's hard because I do use that a lot for work. So I decided not to block that, but it blocks things like LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, all of those things. And I don't use TikTok. I use it purely for posting on the Imperium page. I never look at anything on there. I just use it to post. And even that I don't do as often as I probably should. Instagram's a hard one because I block it, but then there are times when I'm having conversations with people in terms of networking or working with content creators and influencers for Imperium, and it's like I'm having an ongoing conversation, and I do like to keep it all in one place, which is usually on my Instagram, because like they're saying, like your Instagram is the modern day business card. I use my Instagram for business. Like that is me. That's my personal brand, and my image is my Instagram. I've then got a separate private one for friends and family to keep it separate, but that's what I use as a way of connecting with lots of people. So there will be times where I'll then unpause that for 5 minutes to go in and reply to a message, and then it blocks it again. So cut down your screen time, especially in the evenings. If you can put on the setting that blocks out the blue light filter, like I have that on my laptop, I have that on my phone, just 24/7. That again can help assist with your sleep as well. So that's the importance of cutting down screen time. Cold shower every morning. Now, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. And I know a lot of people preach about it. You'll have some influencers like, oh, if you don't have a cold shower, you're a pussy and all that stuff. Like, be a man and do it. Like, I appreciate it. Like, it does help wake you up in the morning. You know, freezing cold water. You're like, oh my god, what was that? Body goes into shock. Right, I'm alert. I'm awake now. Right, let's start the day. I do get it, but sometimes especially you might be a bit sore after the gym or something like that. You think, I just want a nice warm bath for a warm shower, sorry, for your muscles and to recover and to chill. So that's definitely for the evening. I want to have a cold shower before you go to bed because that's like the last place you want to be alert is when you're trying to go to sleep. Sometimes I'm in the morning, sometimes I don't. It depends really. Especially in the summer, it's been so hot here in the UK at the moment. I have been having a cooler shower. There doesn't have to be ice cold, but a cooler one just because it's so bloody hot. But it does help. So that one, I'm not going to be so strict on for you guys. It is personal preference, but maybe do a few in a week if you can. Again, with all of these things, I'm not going to preach that I'm perfect and that you should follow all these things because I do, because I'm not, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm just going to tell you guys honestly what I do. And again, with all of this stuff in Craven Academy, it's up to you if you want to follow it. You're here for a reason because you want to level up. And I'm showing you that you can do it now. Do it today. You can implement all these things over the next 30 days. And the final thing is to read every day. I myself try and do at least 10 pages a day. And I can break that down into five in the morning, maybe on the train, commuting, five in the evening. When you're abroad on holiday, sitting around a pool, you can obviously read more. Or you might want to read more on a daily basis anyway, wherever you are. The 20 minutes a day, so that's 10 books a year. A book is an average what? But average probably between like 200, 300 pages, something like that, probably. Unless you get some proper thick ones, which I have got in my bookshelf. But yeah, some are even less than that. Especially the self-help ones don't tend to be too long. And I personally am more of a non-fiction self-help or history book than a fictional one. But the thing is, sadly, not many people actually read at all today. Now, maybe I'm quite lucky. I grew up, my gran worked in a local library and she always got it in me from a young age how important it is to read. And think, you know, today's day and age, especially probably kids and the next generation coming up, probably maybe not even going to read at all because their attention span is just absolutely broken. All they want to do is scroll on TikTok. That's the only thing that can get engage them. If they don't find something engaging in the first couple of seconds, then they're gone. They're on to the next thing. Even little kids these days struggle to watch films because it's too long to sit there and look at a screen. Something that's just going on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and not something that's instantly refreshing. And it's sad, really, but I think, as a young man, you can start with non-fiction. So business, mindset, a biography maybe from a successful businessman or an athlete, finance books. So yeah, use it as an easy replacement to read before bed instead of scrolling. Again, it helps just wind your brain down for bed. And at the same time, it can be productive, but in other ways, you're reading. And if you start that today and you just implement it 20 minutes a day or 10 pages a day, or maybe you start with five and you up it to 10 and it could be even more, then that will slowly train your brain to think, right, I'm in bed now, I've done my journal, I'm reading these pages, this means I'm about to go to sleep. And it just trains your brain. The more you do it, it will become more natural. Like when you're in the gym and I know Arnold Schwarzenegger's talked about it before. If you have the same gym routine, so say you're hitting chest and you always start with bench, your body knows and it adapts to know you're going to hit bench first. Whereas if you change it up sometimes, you go and do some incline dumbbell flies, your body's like, whoa, what's going on? We're doing a different movement here, and it needs to adjust to it, and that can